So, welcome to the Gordon-Nash Library. This is the Book Remade, an altered book show with books from and objects from all over the world, including China, Belgium, Canada, and of course New Hampshire. This is a piece by Cynthia Robinson, and it's a great expansion on the idea of an altered book. And the altered book is a project that has kind of manifested on its own out there in the world, of people taking taking books that otherwise would be destroyed and changing them in many different ways, making sculptures out of them, which make a comment on what a book is, what might be in the book, or whatever other comment they might want to make about books in general. So on this table we have our interactive books, which are books that we invite the audience to come and pick up. For instance, this by William Evertson is a rekindle based on the story of the Three Little Kittens. So it's a book that's commenting on our use of the Kindle and how it becomes a book again. This one is by Debbie Gilbert, who has the altered bee in Bristol, and she isn't interested in reusing old objects and creating a new object out of it, and it has a delightful collection. This actually is a book that she bought from the Gordon-Nash Library and has altered. Debbie Bonart sent an actual book of her installations, which are also, I need her to meet Debbie. Deborah needs to meet Debbie because she does installations that also use a lot of objects. This book, The Book of Secrets, is a collaborative project by many artists. They start off, it's like a journal. And someone has it, it's a traveling book of journaling, and they work on it for a few pages, and then they send it on. It's Anita Andreze, Laura Povey Crawford, Cindy Gerloff Pinkham, and Lulu Kelly. And then they have different poetry that they have in here, and different ways that they have written and embellished the book. Susan Schulman from Montreal has made a book that is a commentary on Gauguin, and including her own ideas of how her connections to Gauguin and her work coincide. These books, this collection of books, are using a technique called painted foredge, which was originated probably as around the 10th century. They're closed or folded. So originally these were done with family crests, because it was obviously in that era when people had books, they were aristocrats. And then it started to be about what was in the books. That's Alexia Rossoff-Wilbur who did this. This is a book by Ria van de Ende. She's from Belgium, and she did it's called The Black Book of Bitterness. She recently lost, The Thin Black Book of Bitterness, excuse me. Lost family members and did a book to talk about the grief and trouble of losing family members. Both her mother and her father died in a short period of time. And also her struggle with cancer. A Zentangle book by Betty Abdu. It shows you some of the things you can do with a Zentangle meditation, and it's a general book that you can use to do Zentangles on. This work is by Lo Johnson. He's a native of Singapore, currently living in Beijing, China. And I think the best explanation would be just to read his statement, because he wrote it so well. There's a strong tradition of overseas Chinese going back to seek their ancestral roots in the southern part of China. When I was a boy, I often heard about my ancestral village in China province of Fujian, or Hokkien in our dialect. I was told that our village existed for 500 years and the place was filled with hills and gentle streams. Recently I went back as well. Back in the village I managed to obtain a copy of my genealogical book, a book that was destroyed during the Cultural Revolution and recompiled by the different houses of Lao around the world. My house is the house of Lao Wu Yang. The progenitor of my house was Lao Mu Sheng, whose name means grave-born. Grave-born, the name struck me as though it means Alpha Omega, the first of our clan house. Using the technique of raku and the traditional ritual of burning paper talismans and tokens, I seek to connect with my ancestors and the village they came from. By putting the landscape enamels into a fire fueled by a copy of my genealogical book, it is a gesture in hopes of impressing the spider web-like connection into a both tangible and abstract set of artifacts.